4 decades ago, my brother and I started a company in our parents' basement. It grew to employ over
તમ જેવો કોઈ ન દીઠો મહાદયાળુના તમને તજીજો અન્ન સંભારું ભૂલ છે મારી તેનાથ ભૂલ છે મારી તેનાથ તમ જેવો કોઈ ન દીઠો મહાદયાળુના તમને તજીજો અન્ય સંભારું ભૂલ છે મારી તેનાથ ભૂલ છે મારી તેના તમ જેવો કોઈ ન દીઠો મહાદયાળુના તમને તજીજો અન્ય સંભારું ભૂલ છે મારી તેના ભૂલ છે મારી તેના તમ જેવો કોઈ ન દીઠો મહાદયાળુના તમને તજીજો અન્ય સંભારું ભૂલ છે મારી તેના ભૂલ છે મારી તેના ઓ તમે મારું ધ્યાન રાખો છો રાત દી મારા નાથ તમે મારું ધ્યાન રાખો છો રાત દી મારા નાથ ઓ તમે મારું ધ્યાન રાખો છો રાત દી મારા નાથ તમે મારું ધ્યાન રાખો છો રાત દી મારા નાથ દુઃખદ વસ્તુ વ્યક્તિથી તમે મને બચાવ્યો નાથ દુઃખદ વસ્તુ વ્યક્તિથી તમે મને બચાવ્યો નાથ મને બચાવ્યો નાથ મને બચાવ્યો નાથ તમ જેવો કોઈ ન દીઠો તમ જેવો કોઈ ન દીઠો મહાદયાળુના તમને તજીજો અન્ય સંભારું ભૂલ છે મારી તેના ભૂલ છે મારી તેના તમ જેવો કોઈ ન દીઠો મહાદયાળુના તમને તજી
કૃપાએ સુખ ઉપજે સંત કૃપાથી સરે કામ સંત કૃપાથી પામીએ પૂરન પુરુષોત્તમ ધામ કામ દુધા કલ્પતરુ પારસ ચિંતામણી ચાર સંત સમાન તે એકે નહીં મેં મનમાં કર્યો વિચાર. હરે કૃષ્ણ મહારાજની જય, ઘનશ્યામ મહારાજની જય, સ્વામિનારાયણ ભગવાનની જય. Supreme, Almighty Lord Swaminarayan, the pathmaker to our liberation, Pujapad Guruji, and all of you devotees who are watching, my humble Jai Swaminarayan. For the past year, we've been listening to various English discourses and lectures. We've talked about many topics. We've learned about many new things. But my question to you was, do you know, after doing all these things, listening to Katha, doing Mara, performing Danvat, reading holy scriptures, associating with saints, do you know what the end point is? Meaning, the equivalent sign after a long equation, what is the answer? Well, today we're going to discuss about that. Our main goal after doing all these God-related activities is to join with God. It's simple. After making a meal with 7 different items, the whole point, after working hard to make those meals in the kitchen, is to consume the meal afterwards. If one makes everything but does not eat it, one will not receive strength. One will not receive any kind of, you can say, positive point or any benefits. But if one eats the meal, number one, one's hunger will go away. Number two, one will get nutrition, vitamins, minerals from that food. And number three, one will receive energy so one's body can function. Just like how after making a meal, one consumes, in the same way, after performing God-related activities, one must join oneself with God. What do I mean by join oneself with God? Well, I'm talking about his meditation, his form, to meditate upon his form. Now, today I want to talk to you about a particular type of meditation that each and every one should follow. It's Sriji Maharaj's request to us. It's Sriji Maharaj's wish for us that we follow this form of meditation. Now, when that word comes to mind, or when you hear that word, people become frightened that meditation is such a hard thing. All that happens when I close my eyes is I see darkness. But that's because we're just starting out. But just like how before we don't know how to ride a bike, and then when we're small we get a bike with those supports on the side, and then after we can ride a bike without any supports. In the same way, in the beginning you need support, but then when you start practicing, you're able and you become stronger at what you're doing. In the same way, today I want to talk about the form of meditation to join oneself with God, which is called Mansi Puja. Now, Mansi Puja, or also known as mental worship, is something that is very important for a devotee of Bhagavan Swaminarayan. Mansi Puja is a way to make direct contact with Bhagavan without going anywhere, because it's called mental worship. It's all in your heart. It's all in mentally. It's done, performed. So, based off our topic today, Bhagavan Swaminarayan himself has actually spoke of Vachnamrut. The Vachnamrut is Kadida last chapter, 23rd Vachnamrut, and the heading of the Vachnamrut is called Mansi Puja. First I want to read it, and then we'll discuss some various points. And after that, you'll see the benefit of doing Mansi Puja. As a devotee, there's certain kinds of, you can say, standards that one must follow. For example, a devotee of God has tilak chandla. A devotee of God wears a kanthi. A devotee of God goes to mandir. A devotee of God associates with saints. A devotee of God does not eat onion and garlic. A devotee of God performs Mansi Puja. These are basic standards that if any other person sees us, and he sees Aarti Lakchanlo, our Kanti. He sees the way we act. He sees what we eat, we don't eat. He sees that we perform Mansi Puja. He can clearly identify that this is a devotee of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. That's what I mean, holding a standard for your name. To do that, to hold a standard, to hold a reputation, to hold Bhagwan Swaminarayan, his name, on your shoulders, you must possess these kind of characteristics, which I'm talking about. Out of those characteristics, today we're going to focus on Mansi Puja, which is a characteristic of a staunch devotee of Bhagwan. So first I want to read this Vachanamrut and then we'll discuss it over. Swaminarayan Hare, Swaminarayan Hare. On the night of Aso Sud Punam, Samvat 1885, Swami Sri Sajanji Maharaj was sitting on a large decorated cot that had been placed in the yard of his residence in Dada Kachar's Darbar in Gadara. He was dressed entirely in white clothes. At that time, an assembly of Paramahansas, as well as devotees from various places, had gathered before him. Thereupon, Sriji Maharaj, out of compassion, addressed all of the devotees and said, "One who is a devotee of God daily performs the Mansi Puja of God. The details of performing that Mansi Puja are as follows. One should perform that Mansi Puja in different ways, depending on the 3 seasons, namely summer, winter, and monsoon." Bhagwan is talking about the seasons that happen or occur in India, where he was located at that time. Right here in the United States or in other countries, seasons may vary. There's maybe 3 seasons, 4 seasons, but to the standards of America, summer, fall, winter, spring. These are 4 seasons. So according to that, set yourself according to that. So when I'm reading this, when Bhagwan says summer, we have that, but we don't have a monsoon season. So you must just follow it as a fall season or a spring season instead. Continuing on. During the 4 months of summer, one should perform puja by first bathing God with cool, fragrant, pure water. Remember, this is all mentally happening in your mind. You're sitting in an Indian style posture with your closed eyes, and you are imagining this as this is happening. So it's kind of like a small TV show occurring in your mind, and you're pretty much witnessing the whole thing. So, continuing on, by first bathing God with cool, fragrant, pure water, one should then wear which is thin and fine. One should then offer him a beautiful washed white kish to wear, which is thin and fine. After sitting God on a beautiful seat, his whole body should be smeared with fragrant sandalwood, which has been collected in a bowl after forming it into a paste. Firstly, the sandalwood paste should be smeared on his forehead and closely observed. Then his hands should be smeared and closely observed. Then the paste should be smeared on the chest, stomach, thighs, calves, and other parts of his body. Those parts should be also observed. Then beautiful kumkum should be applied on his holy feet, as well as on the soles of his feet, and they should then be observed. Thereafter, garlands of fragrant flowers such as mogro, chameli, champa, roses, as well as various ornaments should be as a cap, armlets, wristlets made of flowers should be offered. A fine cloth that is not too heavy and is as white as a mogro flower should be tied around his head, and a beautiful white cloth, which is fine and light, should be wrapped around his head. Then one should embrace God once or twice, or according to the degree of one's love. Embrace meaning hug. Thereafter, one should touch God's holy feet to one's own chest and head. During that embrace, the sandalwood paste on God's body, as well as parts from the garlands of flowers, may stick to one's own body, and kumkum may also stick as a result of touching God's holy feet to one's own chest and head. All this should be visualized. One should feel sandalwood paste, kumkum, and garlands concerted by Maharaj on one's body. During the 4 months of winter, one should perform puja by first bathing God with warm water and then offering him a white kesh to wear. Kesh meaning dhoti. One should then seat God on a decorated cot with a velvet mattress that has been covered with a white bed sheet. One should offer surval, offer a dugli, tie a rich orange reto of golden threads around his head, tie a rich reto around his waist, and place a rich reto over his shoulders. Then one should place various ornaments made of diamonds, pearls, gold, and rubies on various parts of his body, and adorn him with a pearl necklace as well. After offering these clothes and ornaments, the various parts of God's body should be closely observed. A kumkum chandlo should also be applied to God's forehead. Next season, during the 4 months of monsoon, for that one must think of spring or fall. One should perform puja, imagining that God has returned from some village. His white clothes have been completely drenched, or that he had gone to bathe with the Paramahansas in a river and had returned from there drenched. After removing his wet clothes, he should offer deep orange garments to wear, and his forehead should be smeared with yellow sandalwood paste mixed with saffron. During summer, one should visualize God to be sitting either in an open place or in a flower garden. During winter and monsoon, one should visualize God to be seated in a fine meri or inside a home. In particular, when offering God something to eat, only those foods, chewable, drinkable, or whatnot, which one likes to eat, should be offered and visualized before God. Even if God does not like such foods, when offering items to him, one should still visualize only those items that are relished by oneself. Also, incense, oil lamps, Aarti, and other articles should be offered to God as appropriate. In this manner, a devotee who offers puja in different ways according to the 3 different seasons increases his love for God, and his jiv benefits tremendously. Therefore, whoever has heard this discourse should imbibe it and daily perform the Mansi Puja of God in the manner described. As a matter of fact, I have never talked about this before. Now, Bhagwan talked about many points. He talked about the various seasons, and he described to us how one should do the service of Bhagwan in that particular season. What kind of clothing, what kind of scents, what kind of water, what kind of food, each and every detail. Now, to make it simple for kids, all of you viewing, imagine Bhagwan as a child. Meaning, just think, what does a child need? Pretty much, a child needs to be taken care of in each and every way. If one had a baby, then one has to feed it, one has to put it to sleep, one has to give it clothing, one has to give it a bath, one has to do each and every service. One has to look after that child, that it doesn't go into harm or nothing happens to it. In the same exact way, Bhagwan is Bhagwan. Bhagwan is the Supreme Lord of Lords, Creator, Destroyer, and Sustainer of everything. But imagining Him to be a child, taking care of Him in the form of a child, Bhagwan says here that one's love for God increases and one's soul benefits tremendously. That's the benefit, that's the fruit of performing Mansi Puja here, as described. So as a devotee again, our standard is to perform such kind of Mansi Puja that our love for God increases, and also we benefit because when we join ourselves with Bhagwan, all the vicious natures that we possess completely become destroyed, and good natures, good virtues automatically come into us. So this is also a benefit. Now, we read the whole Vachanamrut, and I'm sure you're probably thinking, I don't want to go too much in detail about each and everything because this is not philosophy, it's more of a description of Bhagwan, how Mansi Puja should be pretty much performed by his devotee. So after even reading this Vachanamrut, it's self-explanatory how one should, or how Bhagwan's standards are, how he wants us to do his Mansi Puja. But I did want to go over the times for Mansi Puja. Now, Mansi Puja is performed the minimum of 5 times in a day. Now first I want to discuss the times. First is in the morning. When one performs puja in the morning, the very first thing one does after applying a tilak chandal is one does Mansi Puja. In that Mansi Puja, one is waking Bhagwan up from his rest and giving Bhagwan a bath and then Bhagwan food, etc. What is described here. The second Mansi Puja is at noon time, meaning around 12:30, you can say. That's when Bhagwan, when one gives lunch to Bhagwan and then puts Bhagwan to sleep. Again, at 4 p.m., one wakes up Bhagwan and one gives some kind of fruits to Bhagwan to offer, and one has Bhagwan's darshan. The fourth Mansi Puja is around 7:30 p.m. That's when one again gives food to Bhagwan, does the Aarti of Bhagwan. This is all happening in Mansi Puja, remember. Physically, it also has to be done. If one has a mandir at home, yes, one must take care of Bhagwan also in that way. But when one is performing Mansi Puja, it's only you and Bhagwan. There's no one else there. It's pretty much an interview, a conversation, a connection with you and Bhagwan only. This is the times to do that. 7:30 is the time for Bhagwan's dinner, Aarti, and darshan. And last, around 9:30, one must put Bhagwan to sleep again, because it's been a long day, so Bhagwan also needs rest. So if one wants to give some small snack to Bhagwan and then put Bhagwan to sleep. But keeping these times in mind, one must also follow the standards of Bhagwan Swaminarayan in this Vachanamrut, Kadara last chapter, 23rd Vachanamrut. Read it over again, this Vachanamrut, and then apply your Mansi Puja according to how Bhagwan wants it to be performed. And then see what kind of happiness one receives from that Mansi Puja. But another question arises. Many kids come and ask, what is the difference between performing physical puja and mental puja? Is it okay if I only perform physical puja because I can't do mental puja? Or is it okay if I only do mental puja? I'm not able to do physical puja because my schedule is very busy. Now, first and foremost, even if you do physical puja, it's the same as doing mental puja. And if you do mental puja, it's the same as doing physical puja. What do I mean by physical puja? Well, you have a mandir at your home, and there you offer Bhagwan Thar, you do Aarti of Bhagwan there. If you have the Ghanshyam Maharaj or the Hare Krishna Maharaj 5 murtis, where you can give Bhagwan or dress Bhagwan, give Bhagwan ornaments, this is all considered physical puja. That is good, and also mental puja is good. The main point is connecting yourself with God. That's what we're trying to achieve. Now, if you do it physically or mentally, that's not so much of a factor. But Bhagwan's wish is for us to do mental worship. In this, according to this Vachanam, he does want us to perform Mansi Puja. And also, remember, we have to hold that standard as a devotee. So, performing mental puja is also a standard that a devotee possesses. But that question I thought about, and I researched, and I found a Vachanamrita, Sarangpur 3rd chapter. There's a question asked by Swayam Prakasana Swami that I want to read to you so you can exactly get your answer. Now, here's the question. Thereupon, Swayam Prakasana Swami asked Sriji Maharaj a question. Maharaj, suppose there's a devotee who physically performs puja of the manifest form of God with various types of puja implements, as we talked about. Also, suppose there's another devotee who performs Mansi Puja of God using various imaginary implements. Who is the better of the two devotees? Now the question is, who is better of the two? Our question was, is it okay if we perform one or the other? These questions are similar. Now let's take a look at the answer. Sriji Maharaj replied, if a person lovingly performs puja of God with hair-raising sentiments and an emotion-filled voice, then regardless of whether he performs puja physically or performs Mansi Puja, both are superior. On the other hand, if he performs puja mechanically, without feeling, love, or excitement, and without showing emotion in his voice, then regardless of whether he performs puja of God physically or Mansi Puja, both are inferior. So what does Bhagwan want? He wants our affection. He wants to see our love. He wants to see our emotion-filled voice. It all depends on how you do physical puja or Mansi Puja. It's not about doing it. Of course, one will do it if one is told that you must do Mansi Puja or you must do physical puja. But moreover, how are you performing that act? There are many, many great people, great saints in this sampradaya, in this religion. Everyone sees that such a saint performs the same exact things as another person, an ordinary devotee, let's say. That saint takes a shower, that devotee takes a shower. That saint eats the same food as the devotee eats the same food. That saint listens to Katha, and that devotee also listens to Katha. Yet, both of their spiritual levels are different. The reason for that is because it's not all about just doing. Moreover, it's about how you're engaging yourself in that particular activity. How much affection you have for Bhagwan. How much you're remembering Bhagwan in each and every activity. That's when the level changes, rises, or falls. That's why, you know how there's a saying in business, quantity is better than quality. In the same way, in religion, quantity is better than quality. Meaning, it's not about how much you do it, but it's about how you perform your act. Now, I'm remembered by a small story. In the time of Sriji Maharaj, Jiuba and Laruba were two great female devotees of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, topmost, you can say, in Bhagwan's era, and you can say that ever lived, because of their affection for Bhagwan. So one time, Jiuba and Laruba had a small Thakurji, meaning a small idol of God that they took care of. They bathed the Thakurji, offered food to it, offered clothes, offered different implements, meaning this was physical puja. The Thakurji is physical. It was there. You can say it's a golden statue of Bhagwan, to explain it bluntly. But we must also worship it as Bhagwan. Just to give you an explanation, that's why I said that. But it's not a statue. Bhagwan himself resides there. So Jiuba and Laruba were performing seva every day. And one day, Abel Kachar, their father, saw Jiuba and Laruba just spending their time away and away performing the seva of this idol. All their time, whole day, every day, from morning to night, all Jiuba and Laruba did was take care of that idol, just like they would take care of a small baby. Abel Kachar became frustrated one day. So he said to Jiuba and Laruba, "Why are you spending and wasting your time after this small statue? You are at such a young age that you should be performing other things. You should be engaging yourself in other activities. Why are you wasting your time? If I see any of you, either of you, performing the service of this idol one more time, I'm gonna punish you." So he left after that. Jiuba and Laruba said and thought to themselves that this is not a statue. We're performing the seva of Bhagwan himself, and he is actually accepting our service. So what they did was they prayed to Thakurji. They prayed to the form of God right there. They prayed that if we are your true devotees, please keep our reputation. Then what they did was they got a bowl of milk, added some sugar, and placed it in front of the Thakurji. Then they called Abel Kachar back, their father, and they prayed to Bhagwan, "Please drink this milk." In front of Abel Kachar's eyes, Thakurji drank that milk, and that bowl flew right to the foot of Abel Kachar. Meaning Bhagwan threw that bowl, after emptying it, threw the bowl right to the feet of Abel Kachar. Abel Kachar was surprised. He was thinking that I was misled, and I was confused, that I thought my two small daughters were wasting their time, but they were truly performing the devotion of Bhagwan, and Bhagwan offers and accepts their devotion. Now see, this is physical puja. Jiuba and Laruba performed physical puja, but with affection, with devotion, with their voice filled with excitement. And due to that, Bhagwan accepted their devotion, and due to that, Abel Kachar's mindset also changed. So this is physical puja, that this actually happened. So this is not something that's made up, but these are true stories. On the other hand, if we look at mental worship, everyone has heard of the Hari Bhagat Parvat Bhai. Bharatbhai was a staunch devotee of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, and he was completely engrossed in the idol of God, meaning he can see the form of God everywhere. Wherever he looked, he can see Bhagwan. This was his spiritual level. Now, Bharatbhai had a farm, and one day he was farming. He was plowing the farm. So it was noontime. So Bharatbhai every day performed Mansi Puja 5 times a day. So it was the noontime, so it was time to feed Bhagwan in the afternoon. It was Bhagwan's lunchtime. So right there, while plowing, he stopped his cattle and he started to perform Mansi Puja while standing. So as he was performing Mansi Puja, one of his other helpers who was helping him plow kind of nudged him from the back because he thought that Bharatbhai was dozing. So when one of the workers nudged him, all of a sudden, yogurt and rotlo fell on the ground, on the field. The worker saw this and he was astonished. Where did this come from? We're in the middle of a field, and what just happened? Bharatbhai finished his Mansi Puja, and he also saw this incident. He explained that to the worker that Bhagwan accepts my devotion while I perform Mansi Puja, and I was offering Bhagwan rotlo and yogurt, rotlo and dahi, and when I was just about to give it to Bhagwan, you nudged me from the back. Due to that, it fell from my hands and it fell on the ground. Just think about the spiritual level of Bharatbhai. Now this is an example of mental worship. Bharatbhai did it very affectionately, and due to that, Bhagwan accepted his devotion and this miracle happened. So Mansi Puja has many benefits, and the final fruit of Mansi Puja is to develop affection for Bhagwan. Due to that, if one can start to remember Bhagwan more and more in one's life, the miseries that we have in our life, academically or financially, all that just disturbs us. Our whole day just passes in worrying about such kind of miseries. But if we have Bhagwan in our life, and if we put everything on Bhagwan's shoulders, then he'll take care of us. Because in the end, we are his children. So, again, to wrap up, the standard of a devotee is to perform Mansi Puja. So, to hold that reputation for Bhagwan, please read this Vachanamrut over. Consider last chapter, 23rd Vachanamrut. And if you don't, please start to do Mansi Puja in order to connect with Bhagwan. Hare Krishna Maharaj Ni Jai. Shri Patim Shridaram Sarvadeveswaram Bhakti Dharmatmajam Vasudevam Hare Madhavam Kesavam Kamdam Karanam Swaminarayanam Nilakandham Bhaje. Hare Krishna Maharaj Ni